Once upon a time, in the dense forests of the northern part of America, there lived a man named Paul Bunyan. He was a giant of a man, with broad shoulders and a bushy beard that almost covered his face. He had come to the forest from parts unknown, and no one knew his true origins. Paul was a lumberjack, and he was the best at his job. With a single stroke of his axe, he could bring down a tree twice his size. His fame had spread far and wide, and people came from all over to watch him work. But Paul wasn't alone in the forest. He had a friend and companion, a giant blue ox named Babe. Babe was an amazing creature. He was so strong that he could pull an entire forest on his back. And he was as blue as the sky, with huge horns and eyes that shone like stars. Paul and Babe were inseparable, and they worked together to clear the forests and make way for new settlements. One day, Paul received a message from the local lumber company. They needed him to clear a particularly dense forest, and they were willing to pay him a large sum of money to do so. Paul was excited about the prospect of a new challenge, and he set out for the forest with Babe by his side. When they arrived at the forest, they were surprised to find that it was the thickest and tallest they had ever seen. The trees were so large that Paul and Babe had to crane their necks to see the tops. But Paul was undaunted. He lifted his axe and swung it at the nearest tree. The tree fell with a mighty crash, and the ground shook beneath their feet. Paul and Babe worked tirelessly for days, bringing down tree after tree. But as they worked deeper into the forest, they encountered something they had never seen before. It was a giant log, so large that they couldn't lift it by themselves. They decided to call it the Big Blue Log. Paul and Babe tried everything they could to move the log, but it was too heavy. They were about to give up when they heard a loud rumbling noise. It was a group of other lumberjacks who had come to help. They had heard about the Big Blue Log and wanted to see it for themselves. Paul and Babe were grateful for the help, and together they managed to move the log. But as they were moving it, they noticed something strange. The log was hollow inside. They looked inside and saw that it was filled with gold nuggets and precious stones. They knew they had struck it rich, and they decided to take the log and the treasure back to their home. As they traveled, they encountered many obstacles, including fierce storms and treacherous terrain. But they persevered, and eventually, they made it back to their village. The news of their discovery spread quickly, and soon people from all over were coming to see the Big Blue Log and the treasure inside. Paul and Babe became rich and famous, and they were loved by everyone in the village. But Paul was not content with his riches. He wanted to do something more with his life. He decided to build a massive dam across the river, which would provide power to the whole village. Everyone thought he was crazy, but Paul was determined. He worked day and night, and with the help of Babe, he built the dam. It was an incredible feat of engineering, and it changed the lives of everyone in the village. They had electricity for the first time, and they could do things they had never imagined before. Paul Bunyan became a legend in his own time, and his name was known all over America. He continued to work as a lumberjack, but he also did many other amazing things. He dug the Great Lakes with his giant shovel, he created Mount Hood by piling rocks and dirt high into the sky, and he even made a straight river by dragging his axe through the ground. Paul and Babe remained the best of friends, and they continued to work together for many years. But eventually, they grew old and tired. They knew that their time in the forest was coming to an end. One day, Paul and Babe set out into the forest, and they never returned. Some say they found a peaceful place to rest, while others say they ascended into the heavens, becoming stars in the sky. But no one knows for sure what happened to them. However, their legacy lived on. The people of the village continued to tell stories about Paul Bunyan and his giant blue ox, Babe. They remembered his incredible strength, his unwavering determination, and his kind heart. And even to this day, people all over America tell the legend of Paul Bunyan, the greatest lumberjack who ever lived. The end.